Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Byrne, and I'm the head of customer success at Mathspace. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and their elders, past and present. We aim to respect them and their history and their future by respecting and maintaining this land that supports us. I'd also like to take the opportunity to welcome each and every one of you here tonight, wherever you are around Australia, as well as those people watching the recording. There is so much research showing the benefits of parents and carers being actively involved in their children's learning and development. So I'd really like to thank you all for being here, and we discuss how Mathspace can be used to support your child's learning journey in maths. As I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, I know there's more people coming in. If you have any questions, please add them into the Q&A section, and we will try and get to them at the end of the session. Okay. So our mission at Mathspace is based on the belief that every student can excel at mathematics with the right help at the right time. And we want to be the right help at the right time for every student. So the way we think of ourselves is sort of a textbook and tutor in one, and we're there to support what teachers are doing with your children in school. So tonight's agenda is looking at how to find tasks and complete the work assigned by your child's teacher, how to use the Mathspace digital textbook, and that might be in conjunction with the physical textbook as well. How Mathspace works as a digital tutor to support your child, and then look at a couple of things that are upcoming at Mathspace as well. I will go into the platform, but we'll just start off with a few screenshots of the Mathspace platform, so you're aware of what that looks like there. So when your child logs in, this is where they land on the student dashboard. And so this will prompt them to either complete classwork or homework, and where they can practice skills independently and see the growth in their mathematical skills. The priority is obviously the work assigned by a child's teacher, and that will come up in the most prominent place for them there. To start a task, they just click on that and they can begin answering those questions. Sorry, it's taking a bit of time to load. If work has been assigned by your child's teacher, it will appear under that assigned tab at the top here. They can also look for past tasks for revision, as well as their current active tasks. And as students complete their work on Mathspace, the results will be shared with the teacher so they can best support your child and provide that personalised support for them in class as well. When looking at the active tasks, students can hide overdue tasks if they're trying to find something current. So that should be quite prominent for them as well. If you'd like notifications about what your child has been assigned on Mathspace, you can do that from your child's Mathspace account. To access that, you click on their profile picture on the top right, and then go into settings, and there you can add a parent and guardian email, you can see there. And then you'll see some automatic notifications come up, particularly around when tasks are due. So that will help you keep track of what the work assigned by your child's teacher as well. So let's talk about the Mathspace digital textbooks. We've had new curricula rolled out for students in years 7 to 10 in Australia over the last couple of years. And for the first time, Mathspace has actually printed physical textbooks to accompany our online resource. So that might be a resource your school's now using, or it may be that they're using us in conjunction with another resource there. So here we have a typical curriculum structure. We have the year levels listed here, and we have the various strands or topic areas that run through the curriculum. And what's important to realize that in maths is that foundational skills in early years have a big impact on those later topic areas. In a school year, students will be expected to learn a small component of each topic. For example, a year 7 student will have these little bits all across these different strands that they complete. To support this work and this traditional model, we know it's very common for students to access their textbooks online. So whether they have a printed version or not, they can transition from a print book to the digital environment quite easily. This is something that the print book would look like. And as we transition over to the online version, we can see that those numbers will correspond. So they can always find the work assigned by teachers, whether they're doing it as written work or work that is completed online. If they are using the online version, the benefit is that it includes not only written lessons, but also videos and worked examples, as well as practice exercises. They can access all textbooks made available to them by their teacher just by clicking on the title here, and they'll see a drop-down menu. So if there's other resources a teacher thinks are useful, that's available to them as well. So it's a really great resource for test or exam preparation, and they can find all that relevant content to practice here. And these little bars will indicate that level of mastery that they've demonstrated here. So it's very visible for kids as well. When we're identifying those areas of work, we can see here this topic is one that has been mastered, but we can see for order of operations with whole numbers, for example, there is still some work that can be done. So again, making it very obvious if students are looking for work that will support them, they can find it quite easily there. On that typical exercise, so once they are answering questions in Mathspace, they get immediate feedback on each step of working that they enter. So there are hints and videos available that you can see. And now with AI, we have a new character, Milo, who is harnessing that power of AI to support students even further. This is dependent on your source subscription. Some schools don't have this due to safety policies, but some do. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's something you can add on an individual level as well. And we're training Milo to be more like a digital tutor that works with your child. So where they can have conversations to deepen their mathematical understanding. And it doesn't have to be in English either. They can use this to translate if English is a second language as well. With this feature, they can also turn on a read aloud setting. So if they need things read out, that is a possibility as well. What is obviously the common question if when using AI is, can they cheat? And the answer is generally no. We've trained our AI Milo to give response to students similar to what a tutor would expect. So we're always getting them back on track there. And the idea is that we're ensuring a safe online environment. If any comments get flagged, our team gets in touch there as well. So we want to keep this obviously productive and helpful for students as well. Now, moving on slightly, as I was talking about, if we go back to this example of a year 7 student, we know it's not uncommon for students to have a gap or even multiple gaps in their knowledge from earlier years, which can be a real source of concern both for students and for parents. So the next feature I want to show you that Mathspace has is called a skills check-in. And this is where Mathspace is more of a digital tutor. So we recommend completing regular, either weekly or fortnightly skills check-ins. And not only does it identify gaps and measure students' growth across the 3 to 10 curriculum, but it also helps develop those independent learning skills. So it's a routine we really want to encourage students using Mathspace to do if they aren't already. So what this does is basically, rather than looking across all the strands, just focus on one, but again, looking right across that 3 to 10 curriculum to help support a student's current learning in class. What we do is use AI technology to understand a student's total knowledge state with a small number of questions. So we've mapped these against all curriculum outcomes into a knowledge graph with prerequisite skills. For example, if they are working on two-step equations, we would expect them to know one-step equations before getting into that content. And we use this to select the best outcomes to assess at each check-in and to inform what tasks we recommend students work on to ensure they experience success. So from a student side, this will be what it looks like. So I can see any gaps in my prior skills and things I'm working on towards there. And it will inform that practice that Mathspace recommends, as I said. If we look in here, they're presented with this skills map. So I can see for this year 8 student, the skills at my current level, but also those prerequisite skills from earlier year levels too. So these are the skills we encourage students to work on to support what they're doing in class. So encouraging your child to focus on this page for independent practice will be really beneficial. We also find that many schools direct students towards these curriculum outcomes. This is displaying the Australian outcomes, Australian curriculum outcomes, but we will display whatever's relevant in your child's state there. And you can see here this level 1, 2, 3, 4, with 4 being the star, to demonstrate that level of mastery they've demonstrated based on those questions. So even though it's not explicit, the prior skill section is ordered by grade level. So getting them to work up or from the bottom up will help them experience that success faster. Obviously, by completing this regularly, it does give students that chance to experience success in their mathematical understanding and allow them to experience it more regularly, which we hope will help with engagement as well. From these skills check-ins, which are a little bit more of an assessment style task, as I mentioned, it informs what Mathspace recommends to support what your child is doing in class. So they can choose, we give them options of what to work on, but it's always something beneficial and to support what they're doing in class. So I might just pause for a moment before we get on to that to see if there's any questions. Just let me open up here for a moment. There was a question here about whether extended Mathspace allows for extension work, so working above your grade level. Yes, and teachers will generally provide those textbooks above grade level. So your child, if they are working at that level, will have those opportunities there. We also have a question about kids, whether they can be learning different things in maths class depending on their individual skills. Yes. Again, this is at the teacher's discretion because they still do need to get students through the curriculum work. So they meet requirements there. But often there'll be time set aside for that skills work. So it is helping them achieve that success as well. But it's something that you can ask your child's teacher about and how that works in your school there. But certainly if they're doing work at home, they can have a very personalized learning experience there. There was also a question about parent login. We don't offer that at this stage, no. It will just be those emails that you receive with that information. There's also a question about whether schools use the skills assessment in their overall assessment. Again, that's a question to ask your school. I wouldn't say they use it as a formal assessment, but it might be a piece that they use towards that. But again, worth asking your school for the particular way they're using that information. For the skills check-ins, currently they do only go up to year 10. What we find is that for students in year 11 and 12, particularly those doing student, well, what's standard maths here, there's different names for it in different states, but they generally have gaps in those earlier year levels anyway, so it's still very useful for them to complete. For students doing the higher level maths, we don't find them as required. They're not because students are typically do not have as many gaps there. For parents, they will get an email reminder. I think it's 24 hours before a task is due if your child hasn't completed it as well. Okay. Alex, I'm just jumping in here. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, there's a couple of other really good ones. One is a pretty simple one that everyone might want to know. Do kids get reminder emails if they did not complete the tasks in time?
Yes, so they'll get the same ones as you, notifying them that they have a task due. Generally, they're about 24 to 48 hours before that task is due.
Yeah. And then another one from Luke that's quite good is about basically the number of check-ins children made or students need to complete. So do you have to do check-ins individually for each learning outcome in terms of very specific sort of topics, or is there a check-in that will cover a range of topics? How many check-ins is my child recommended to complete, and will once a week be enough? So
Yeah. So the initial one they do test the whole strand, and they can do those larger strand ones to check across a whole, well, I guess a number of outcomes that will be. What we do find useful though is checking in on individual outcomes. One, because the tests are shorter, they're only between 2 and 5 questions, so it doesn't feel like a big task. And it's not designed to be a formal assessment. It's designed to be a continuous assessment piece so students can gauge and understand where they're growing and where they need to spend more practice time. It's not supposed to be a formal assessment, a summative assessment where they're getting a grade there. If they're doing it weekly, what we find is that they can be quite specific in what they choose, and it almost works as a consolidation piece for what they're doing in class. So they can say, oh, I've been working on adding fractions in class this week. I'm going to check in on that skill to see that I've understood it. So by doing that, it's more targeted in the learning they're doing. And we find it's beneficial in that way. For the questions that they are presented, if they do touch on multiple skills, it will automatically sort of inform those other areas of growth anyway. But don't feel like it needs to be a really big burden on your child that they should be completing lots to see that growth. It's just designed to be a continuous piece to help with that personalized learning there. Another piece too, a question around if your child's practicing a lot, but there isn't a lot of progress. First of all, I think the question is, well, my answer is one, talk to your child's teacher. Obviously, they're very busy and that can be hard to do. So it may be just looking at what content they're practicing. Maybe it is that they need to go back to an earlier year level to practice some of those foundational skills. So they are starting to see that growth and success more frequently, but ideally chat to your teacher about how that looks, because obviously each child is different in that way. Any other questions at the moment? Alex, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, I think this would kind of help with a couple of people that are asking questions around things like, can we get assessment in areas of improvements based on current or past tests? I'm wondering if, have you discussed, and sorry if I missed this, the mastery kind of view in the textbook that sort of allows you to sort of track how students are progressing based on all the work they've done up to this point?
I didn't actually from a student view there, so I might change over and look in on Mathspace here. Sorry, everyone, while I open this up. We will go over here.
Another person has said they have children at school at different year levels. So what's the best way to keep track of progress for each? So yeah, I think what Erin's about to sort of show is how from the student view, you're able to kind of really track progress as they work through kind of their textbook, their Mathspace textbook.
Yep, so over here on the textbook view, they can see on a particular area over here, this level of mastery and what they're completing here. So basically, you want to see these bars being filled in for each of those exercises there. That way is a really quick and easy view for you to see that level of understanding and also whether they've been worked on there. In terms of tracking progress, this is the way to do it. Obviously, the emails will tell you when tasks have been assigned by your child's teacher. But it might just be having a look at this view, asking your child what they've been working on in class and what that looks like as well. Obviously, you know, I have children of my own, and when you ask them about learning, it could often be, oh, nothing. But it could just be looking at that level of mastery and being like, oh, great, I can see you've mastered that topic. What did you understand? When did you work on that? That could be useful as well. I will just point out here too, your child will have lessons that they can access to. As I said, these videos and work solutions are in here to support them as well with that. In terms of how they access prior year levels, from this skills view, this is the easiest way to do it. So when I go in here, I pick the area that I'm working on, and then I can see those prior year levels at the top. That's the priority for what I want to do before I go into this the later year levels or my current year level. From here, kids can just click this practice button And when they do that, they'll have access to all the hints, videos, and help that students need. When they feel like they've understood and can demonstrate that, they can check in on that particular skill there as well. In terms of what teachers can see, yes, teachers can see what all the work that students have attempted, and they use that to inform their teaching, obviously, as a resource. In terms of how teachers communicate with schools, that will depend obviously on individual schools. Some might use another platform that they use, and it depends what features of this they are using as to how they will communicate that with you. If you have questions, reach out to the school about how that is being done. Any other questions? One person asking if they've been invited to the evening, does that mean my child's school uses Mathspace? Yes, I would say so. Generally, all our participants here have this as a resource at their school as well. Alex, are there any final questions to go through?
There's a few sort of coming in. A couple of people sort of might have missed a little bit at the start. We will be sending a recording out, so that would probably be the best way for people to review things that have been said. There is somebody that has mentioned that their son has dyslexia, and can this help? So perhaps the read aloud function, or
Yeah,
the built-in videos. Yeah.
I'll just show the read aloud feature for now. Just how to turn it on, which may help. Obviously, it's worth a try with your child if they are dyslexic. The way to turn on that read aloud function is from within the Mathspace workbook. Oh, sorry, taking a lot of time to get to where I need to be. So over here, on the right-hand side, this more option, you just need to enable this read aloud support. If I do that now, then when I go to my help options, I can see that read aloud option there. So yeah, if literacy is an issue or you have dyslexia, that would be probably the best way to help. In terms of writing in the answers, that still may be an issue, but good to talk to the school about those things as well. Okay, I know we are nearly at time. Just one final question, whether Mathspace is foundational or there are challenges for students. The way we structure our content, we work with teachers who provide the scope, but we don't limit a student's access to content. We try to be the right help at the right time. So if your child needs more support, we will definitely give them that foundational content to support them. If they are working above grade level, we will provide them with challenging content as well, whether that be working above grade level or on a task that's more open-ended and problem-solving style without that final answer. All right. I know there's a few more questions here. Just because I am conscious of time and know it's getting things, it's a busy time of the evening. We will send out the recording and I'll answer any other frequently asked questions that have come out in that email as well. So you can have a look at that. Obviously, feel free to reach out to me if I haven't answered your question. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us. We will speak again soon. Thanks everyone and have a good evening.